Hi, my name is Ather and I work as a cloud architect for Athos. My Twitter handle is Ather and my blog is atherbake.com. Now today, as you can see with the title, work-life balance for the elderly IT professional. And it's not really just for elderly people. It's for everyone, soon-to-be elderly people. It's basically something that came up during my life when things weren't working out so well, and I ran into some trouble in terms of work-life balance, and became a workaholic basically. And then I started thinking about my life and how to change things. And just my thoughts, it's work in progress, but at some point everyone needs some sort of guidance, and I'm sharing this just to make sure that everyone can think about those things and make changes if required. So what happened, basically? I used to think that nothing is more important than work. I was starting in my career, everything was new, I was a techie, new tech to play with. I just kept working with new tech. Every project I wanted to do, there's nothing more important than playing with it. I had the drive to actually think that everything about technology I should know, and it didn't matter which part of IT it was. I wanted to enter every part of it, and that obviously takes a toll on you. You become very good, but eventually it starts taking a toll. Obviously, who needs more than 4 hours of sleep? Since I was 16 all the way up to my age of 40, I constantly worked 4 hours a day, sleep sometimes less, and never thought that sleep is also more important and you should devote more time to other things. Another thing was that I'm invincible. I can deal with anything. I used to go to the gym, I was fit, and I said, okay, physically fit, I'll deal with it. I can live without carrying on in this lifestyle. But then everything changed. One day I collapsed. I won't bore you with the story, but basically the gist of it is that I was hospitalized for a very long time, which gave me time to think that what should I do with my life? Am I doing something wrong here? Should I be spending more time on other things? Is career that much important? Because the collapse was related to stress and what happened. And I also thought, when in that state, that thought or giving time to yourself is more important, and life is passing you by, and at some point you're going to realize that. And then I also remembered a very famous quote from one of the great thinkers of my teenage life. And obviously, these are pretty sane words that people should remember. So what happened? I did some reality check, which is pretty obvious. This is a universal truth. 24 hours a day. You can't actually change any of that, even if you wanted. I wanted 48, but unfortunately, it's not possible. So, failing that, I also think that family should be first. Not that I didn't know that before. I always knew that. It's just that I didn't think that I was doing something negative. Me doing more work basically meant I was going to go further in my career, which basically meant that I'll earn more, which is good for my family. So family is first. Not quite. Basically, you have to work to a certain limit, and after that, whatever happens, happens. Family time doesn't come back. Kids, they take a lot of your time, and regardless of what age they are, you think that one day you will get more time. You won't. When they're babies, you change nappies, and they're basically sleepless nights. At some point, they start growing up, you get teenage tantrums, and one day you find that they are teenagers, they have relationship issues, things go on, they never end. So you will never get time for other things. Kids won't give you more time, and technology keeps changing. That's another thing. you will always be in that cycle. If you're a techie, you will always be learning. This will never end. It's a never-ending cycle. Every day a new technology comes up. And also, I also realize that no one can actually know everything all the time. There will be things that you won't know. Regardless of how hard you try, there will always be something that you don't know. So there has to be a limit to how much you do. So when time becomes constrained, you have to reduce a certain time drain on whatever the time drain you have. And family is not something that you can compromise on. So doing all of that, what did I do? I made some changes. The changes basically were to do with making things such that I don't have to spend a lot of time on things that aren't as valuable as other things. So for example, started to say no. So no is not just refusing to do things. It was at work. But you can politely say no to things that you don't want to do or you can't do. It could be meetings. In meetings you get dragged into sometimes just because, and you attend because you think that you're going to be more important to the process. But you can, if you can't contribute anything useful to it, you can say no. There are things like the drive to make things efficient. And by efficiency I mean you can, for example, if you watch TV, if TV is your thing, what you can do is binge watch. And that's pretty effective because you cut out all the advertisements and you can forward things and you know the drill basically. Twitter, look, everyone checks Twitter every 5 minutes. That's pretty disruptive. So what I do basically is check it after a couple of hours and then go through the timeline. And don't go back into the timeline because if it's important enough, someone will retweet it. So you don't have to do that. One other thing I actually did was wrote a blog post on WorkRave. It's a product that basically gets you off your computer, you go somewhere else, and it tells you when 45 minutes are up and those kind of things. You can set, you can change. It's a useful thing that I implemented so that I actually have focused attention on my work, and that basically results in efficient reduction of work, and then you finish on time and those kind of things. Delegation. One other thing that I did basically was that my children are old enough to follow certain processes. So I implemented Trello for them. So Kanban practices basically. And that's pretty useful thing to do at home. They get prepared for the future because Kanban is slowly getting into everywhere. But they become more disciplined. They gain a sense of responsibility and then take some pressure off you so that you can then focus on what you need to do. Life balance basically is another thing. I made sure that I had time for my family. I finish on time. I make sure that at least I have at least one meal with them, possibly two. Speak about school. Weekends, I keep the weekends lighter in terms of development. I do most of my learning in the week. Weekends is mostly for family. So, and if you spend more time with your family, then obviously you're going to feel much better in terms of work-life balance and more relaxed. So, given if I've done all of these things, I found that, with those efficiencies, in most cases I got 1 or 2 hours back of my life every day, which basically meant that I could spend more time with them, but also I could develop in those 1 or 2 hours that I basically gained. And same thing over the weekend, that on the weekend, if I was spending 4, 5, 6 hours of development, with those efficiencies, I was able to free up 2 or 3 hours after that as well, which again meant that I was able to spend more time with family. So now I'm in a state, nearly, that where it's a very happy balance. I can develop myself. I'm developing in my career. I'm moving into new technologies, focusing on the technologies I need to focus on, and yet spend a lot of time with my family, which then achieves that sense of balance that I have in my life, and work is not that difficult anymore. I hope that you've actually learned something with that, and will give you some food for thought. And I thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.